B'ezrat Hashem, tonight's lesson is Spiritual Awareness 202, and that's hearing the Creator's voice. So this is our second lesson in spiritual awareness. And as we said in the first lesson, spiritual awareness is one of life's vital assets, maybe the most vital asset a person has in life. But surprisingly, few people have it. But spiritual awareness is the key to tranquility. If a person has stress, person has anxiety, that means either he or she lacks spiritual awareness, or like their tank is low, your gas tank is low, so your car starts sputtering. Your neshama starts sputtering because your tank of spiritual awareness is low. Okay, so once we become spiritually aware, we overcome anger, we overcome stress, we overcome anxiety, and it's a no-brainer that we overcome depression. That might sound like a big claim, but as I said, you see it works. It's very logical because emotional disorders, they come from a misuse of the soul. And spiritual awareness is the mechanism that properly activates the divine soul. So as soon as we use our souls properly and understand the job of our souls, understand the task of our souls, then emotional difficulty is a thing of the past. Just like if a person uses their body in a wrong way, the person can't jump off of second-story windows and then expect not to do damage to the body. The same goes for the soul. We have to use it properly. So we're finishing our answer to what is spiritual awareness. I'm going to do a quick review of last week's lesson, and then we're going to speak about why a person needs spiritual awareness and how a person attains spiritual awareness, and how do I know if I have spiritual awareness, okay? So last week we compared between sensual awareness and spiritual awareness. Now, the sensual awareness are the finite physical senses, sound, taste, touch, light, and sight and smell. Okay, so they're the bodily senses, and since they're bodily, they're finite, they're limited. There's only a limit to how far away you can smell. A dog can smell further than we can, and there's a limit to how much we can see. An eagle can see further away than we can. But same with touch. Some creations are more sensitive to their touch than we can. Some creations have more sensitive taste buds than we do. Okay, but in any event, we are all limited because it's finite. These are finite senses. Now, since the bodily senses are limited and finite, then if the body rules over the soul, you know what else is limited and finite? A jail cell. A jail cell, you're trapped in. When the body rules the soul, which is a part of the Almighty, and it's unlimited, and just like the Almighty is unlimited, and the soul defies time and space, just like the Almighty defies time and space. And the more a person is spiritually oriented, the more a person is eternal. He never dies. He or she never dies because your soul never dies. So if you're a soul, you have to worry about death because you're here. Oh, you're going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And if a person is bodily oriented, the more a person is bodily oriented, the more a person is worried about death. And what's the life is so depressing because every single day, a bodily oriented person wakes up in the morning, it's a day closer to his funeral. That's not a very encouraging thought. So spiritual awareness is the knowledge and the intellectual power that we derive from activating the divine soul and giving the divine soul the reign over the bodily, over the body. Okay, and this once again makes us, the more we activate our divine souls, the more we become like Hashem, the more we become more illuminated people, nicer people, more holy, and the more a person has, what they call it charismatic. You see a person that you really like, the person is so nice, and you just feel attracted. You might not necessarily know that person. And usually it's because they've got divine light. It's a wonderful person, a compassionate person, a person that does loving kindness. Okay, so the spiritually aware, when you have spiritual awareness, people that are spiritually aware, they recognize that there's a supernatural power called the Creator or the Almighty or the Holy One or Hashem or Father in Heaven, whatever you want to call him, whatever you feel comfortable with. And that is the ongoing, not only the Creator, Hashem is not retired, but he creates and sustains the entire universe and every single creation from the great galaxies to the tiny little amoeba. Okay, so when we talk about the dynamics of spiritual awareness, that enhances spiritual awareness, not only enhances one's closeness to Hashem, but spiritual awareness enhances one's comprehension of himself or herself. You take young people or even middle-aged people, even older people. Person that's middle-aged and feels a lack of accomplishment in life. It's probably because of lack of spiritual awareness. Why lack of accomplishment in life? Because the person did not know what his or her mission in life was, and therefore their orientation was making money, a career, or something that might not necessarily be their mission in life. Okay, so when we get closer to Hashem, the closer one gets to Hashem, the more a person attains knowledge of him or herself also, and the more a person is able to complete their mission in life, and the more a person attains inner peace, tranquility, and overcomes emotional ailments. Because inner peace and tranquility and emotional ailments are mutually exclusive. They simply don't go together. Okay, so your potential for spiritual awareness is unlimited because your neshama, your soul, is unlimited. It's a tiny part of Hashem. You go higher and higher and higher. And the Torah says this. Torah says, Shuva ad Hashem lokecha, that you have to return, get closer until you reach Hashem. So if we haven't reached Hashem, we can still keep going. We still have higher, higher, and higher potential. And even the secular psychologists, they know that the average person doesn't even attain 10% of his or her potential. Why? Because that's the bodily orientation and the lack of activation of the spiritual self, which is spiritual awareness, that's the soul. But they know this phenomenon, but they don't know why. Because if a person doesn't recognize the soul and doesn't recognize the relationship and the interrelationship between body and soul, they can't possibly know. Okay, so as we are elaborating on our definition of spiritual awareness, last week we took the first 3 points. We discussed number one, that spiritual awareness is understanding that the creation of the universe and all of its inhabitants, from the great galaxies to the one-celled amoeba, it wasn't a random or inexplicable event. The Almighty created the world for a purpose, and it continues to sustain everything He created. The second point we dealt in last week was that each creation has a unique purpose. Just like each creation has a unique purpose. Trees on the side of a mountain have a purpose, so they're digging the roots in and they prevent erosion. They prevent erosion in the mountain. They prevent soil erosion, and they do all kinds of wonderful things. Go into the whole purpose of a tree, but if a tree does a wonderful thing and it's a relatively lower order creation, what about a human being? You know what it means when Hashem created you? When Hashem created you, Hashem doesn't do anything without a purpose. It means there's something profound, that the world cannot exist or function if you're not here. So if you're here right now and Hashem put you in the world, it means that the world needs you for the proper function of the world. So every single one of us can do magnificent things and make the world a better place. The more we get close to Hashem and the more we realize our mission in life. Okay. The third point is that understanding that you have a soul with you, that it's a divine spark of the Almighty, a tiny part of the Almighty, which elevates you above all creations. Okay, so we're going to learn 3 more points tonight. And the fourth point that we're going to learn is understanding that Hashem controls the universe and all its inhabitants, but Hashem controls everything, but He gives us the free choice to choose between good and evil. Hashem does not take that choice. People say, why is there evil in the world? Why? Because of Hashem. Because Hashem gives every creation the choice to do good, every human creation. Okay, the fifth point is understanding that Hashem communicates with each one of us. People say, where's Hashem? Someone says, where's Hashem? That is spiritual blindness. That's the exact opposite of spiritual awareness. Okay, because of spiritual awareness, you can see Hashem talking to you, everything that happens in your life and all the stimuli of your life. And that makes life so much more meaningful. When you see Hashem's hand and everything going, you see Hashem's divine providence. We call Hashgacha Pratis, Hashem's personal divine providence running your life. Wow, feel so close to your Father in heaven. That is such a soothing feeling. It's so great. Can you imagine if you're walking down a tough neighborhood and you've got 2 big 7-foot bodyguards that weigh 380 and they're both 32nd degree black belts in martial arts? You're not going to worry. What about Hashem? When you feel that Hashem is with you, this is what King David, he felt that Hashem was with him all the time. In Psalm 16, he says, Shiviti Hashem l'negdi tamid. I see you before me always. And in Psalm 23, we can now understand. If we understand Psalm 16, we understand Psalm 23. Though I walk in the valley of death, I shall not fear. What? The valley of death? Worst battlefield? Why? For you are with me. Why does King David not Ki ata imadi, for you are with me, Hashem. Right. And the very sixth point, this is so important in spiritual awareness because this will so enhance your joy in life, your happiness in life, your fulfillment in life, the meaningful life. It helps you fly out of bed in the morning. And it doesn't matter whether you're 20 or 120, to understand that you have a very special mission in earth. People that don't understand that, they could be 22 years old, they don't understand that, so they waste time in front of a TV, or they waste time with TikTok all day long. I saw research this week that the average teenager nowadays spends 9 hours a day on social media. I couldn't believe it. Research 9 hours a day on social media. Yeah, between TikTok and between Instagram and between this and between text messaging, 9 hours a day. You see people walking around. I see young people. They all have kyphosis, but backed over. You see nobody looks straight when you walk on the street. People all bent down and holding their cell phones. There's car accidents and everything. Drivers look at their cell phones. Pedestrians look at their cell phones. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous. That's why I don't want to drive today. It's dangerous because the pedestrians aren't being careful, and the other drivers on the road, they're not careful. It's really dangerous. Anyway, 9 hours. How can a person squander 9 hours on social media? At the end of the day, when a person with spiritual awareness, at the end of the day, takes stock. How was my day? What did I accomplish today? What did I do today? Our great sages that even lived young ages, Rabbi Nachman lived till 38 years old. The Holy Arizal, the father of Kabbalah, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi, he lived till he was 38 years old also. And others as sages, they died at young ages. Look what they accomplished in life. The Ramah died at a very young age. Prodigious achievements, prodigious accomplishments in life because it wastes time. So what does the social media, what contribution is it to posterity? Did you heal somebody? Did you help a poor person? Did you help take care of a volunteer for a Down syndrome children in camp and help them? But what social media and they're clicking the thumbs? It's just wasting time. And it's a tragedy. The biggest tragedies is when a person doesn't know his or her mission in life. And this is the worst purgatory, the most embarrassing purgatory can be. People think that purgatory is the fires of purgatory. That's the fires of embarrassment. They call the fires of embarrassment. When a person gets to the next world and a person gets to heavenly court and they show him two movies, they show him the first movie is what he or she accomplished in this world, and the second, what they could have accomplished. Oh my goodness. Wow. And then the wake-up call is too late. He didn't squander all his time reading newspapers in front of the telly and on social media. Okay, so that's why it's so important to have spiritual awareness and so important to understand that each of us has a mission in life. It is really, really so important. Okay, so we're going to continue on with point 4. And point 4 is understanding that Hashem controls the universe and all its inhabitants, and he grants us the freedom to do good or evil. Well, Hashem runs the world in a precision, perfect balance between good and evil. Rabbi Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal, he explains this in his book Derech Hashem, the first chapter. He says that if Hashem does not maintain a perfect balance between good and evil, there's no context for reward and punishment. Because if there would be 51% good and 49% evil in the world, a person really doesn't deserve reward for doing good, because good is the majority. Good controls, and vice versa. If there would be 51% bad in the world and 49% good, a person really doesn't deserve punishment for doing bad because the bad overrules everything. All right, so that Hashem keeps a perfect balance, and it's a person, that way a person cannot plead not guilty to criminal acts, and he can enjoy the reward that he or she does for good things. Okay, now somebody says, wait a second, that's not what the Torah says. So well, the Torah and the book of Exodus says that Hashem hardened Pharaoh's heart. But that sounds like a contradiction to free choice. Talk about Hashem's heart. But when did Hashem harden Pharaoh's heart? Hashem gave him 5 chances. After the first 5 plagues, Pharaoh had 5 chances to do good. Hashem gave him 5 wake-up calls. Once Pharaoh decided that he wants to do evil, Hashem says, okay, then you will still sanctify my name, but negatively. Okay, so then Hashem hardened his heart and continued on, didn't let him give in, didn't let him give in. So each of us has a liberty to be a Moses or a Pharaoh. We do. And our power of our souls is greater than the power of a nuclear reactor. That might sound strange, but nuclear reactor is also limited. Our souls are not limited. But why more than a nuclear reactor? Because each one of us, we have a power in our souls to illuminate the world, or heaven forbid, to destroy the world. How many people, one person in history, succeeded in almost destroying the world? Now you take a cancer research physician, he takes a scalpel in his hand, and that's to cure mankind. But you take the same little knife, a terrorist will take it in his hand to hijack an airplane to kill people. The same thing, one little knife, it could be cure thousands of people or to kill people. Okay, so we understand our power of free choice that Hashem vests in us. And once we do that, we're prepared to harness our emotions and our talents and our energies and our desires and to channel them into the most productive path. And in that productive path, anger and negative emotions do not exist. They're a distant memory because we're busy accomplishing things. We're busy doing our mission on earth. And when I do our mission on earth, we feel accomplished, we feel fulfilled, we feel happy. It's the opposite of frustration, fulfillment. Fulfillment is inner peace. Okay. So we only need to exercise our free will to choose good over evil as a path to really feeling good in body and soul. And it sounds like it's not logical, but try it. Really try it. And how many people are influenced by peer pressure, by peer groups? Someone called into the boss, and who did that? The boss wants a person to snitch on someone or to say some type of gossip. What are they saying about me? If you're Chafetz Chaim, you're not allowed to tell the boss what he wants to hear. The boss says, if you don't tell me, then I'm going to fire you. Sounds like something rough, but according to the Chafetz Chaim, the person, if the boss says, if you don't commit Torah, I'm going to fire you. If the boss says, if you don't come to work on Sabbath, I'm going to fire you. You say, okay, boss, fire me. That's it. That's it. Give me what I did. I'm right there. I'm out the door. Okay, the same thing. Keeping Shabbat and speaking slander about another human being. This is a transgression of Torah, and this is a transgression of Torah. A person's not allowed to do a transgression of Torah. So people do so many transgressions. Stop and think. Take a look at the social media, what people say about other people, maybe even voices, even though we don't like a certain politician. So there's no right to speak against it. And people say, well, I heard in Israel that these religious politicians, they talk nasty about the government. Okay, I don't like the government either, but not talk nasty about it. But I don't have a problem with the government. It's Hashem put them in there. Why did Hashem put them in there? Hashem put them in power. Hashem put them in power. If anybody's got a problem with the government, go to Hashem. You're allowed to, once in 4 years, this election, vote who you want. But you can't talk about Trump, and you can't talk about Biden, and you can't talk about Bibi, and you can't talk about Bennett. You can't talk about one thing. That's it. We don't speak bad about other people. And especially like as mentioned at the beginning, here in our group, we don't tolerate anything bad about another person, nothing detrimental. Why? Because anything detrimental said about another human being is like eating something not kosher, like breaking Shabbat. It's a transgression of Torah. We don't tolerate that. Okay, we can't buy. First of all, it's doing damage to our souls. It's robbing us of peace. Stop and think. Negative thoughts, where do they come from? The evil inclination. That's why it's called evil inclination, because all evil, all negativity comes from the evil inclination. So even if a person is abusive to you, all right, you have the perfect right to avoid an abusive person. But if the person is abusive, don't be angry at the abusive person. Wait a second, maybe Hashem sent that to me as an atonement for, maybe it was decreed that I should get, heaven forbid, should get COVID. So instead of getting COVID, I suffered a little bit of an insult or abuse. Thank you, Hashem. It's all for Hashem. A person that's thinking Hashem, like King David, Shiviti Hashem l'negdi tamid. I place Hashem before me always has a smile on his face. And you can't fake it. Person, you see a person that thinks about Hashem, always got a smile on his face. So we go on to our fifth point of spiritual awareness. We understand that Hashem speaks to each one of us. What a great feeling. Hashem speaks to each one of us by way of our environment. It's exciting to hear Hashem's voice, exciting to feel Hashem in your life. Okay, so this point, once you internalize it, it's really the epitome of spiritual awareness. Just what I just said, a person suffers a bit of insult, and a person is not angry at the person, at the abuser, the insulter. No, it's from Hashem. I know something, stops and think, he closes his eyes. This beats sickness or financial loss any day of the week. A little bit of insult, okay, that's fine. I'll give you an example. You can tell so many stories about that. There's a story that old Isaac tells in the Trail of Tranquility about Richard Green. Richard Green, the imaginary name, he had 3 years of peaceful married life. Understand, this could be any one of us. Okay. His wife, Janet, she's kind and considerate, sweet-natured girl. But after 3 years, she began to be belligerent. All of a sudden, hey, this is not the woman he stood under the chuppah with. So the last couple of months, their marriage was on a downhill slide. So they went to the rabbi and they consulted him about the marital problem. And the rabbi said, what's happened? What happened, Reese? What happened at Shan's? He asked him to explain to me your life, Richard. Well, a few months prior, Richard left his job as the head mechanic of an automobile dealership, and he opened up his own garage in partnership with a friend. And Richard handled the auto mechanic side of the business, and his partner handled the bookkeeping, the administrative end, and the bills. But from the very beginning, Richard's partner was padding the customers' bills. He was charging them for parts and services that they didn't do. In other words, if Richard would do for an oil change, he put down oil and filter and this, they all padded. So Richard knew what was going on, and he was therefore a full accomplice to his partner's misdealing, but he didn't make any effort to protest because the partner was bringing in money, and half the money is his. So he says, well, I'm doing my work, and he's doing his work, but he was bringing home dishonest money. Well, dishonest money, when it bring home dishonest money causes a blemish to the person's soul. Now, Janet, under the chuppah, she married an honest guy. He was an honest mechanic, and she liked him. She loved him. Okay, but now his soul became blemished. She didn't know why, but just looking at him, she became irritated. Why did she become irritated? And we talked about in our lesson of old Isaac and the grizzly, we explained that old Isaac, his divine, he was a level 10, and his divine illumination, the emanation of divine light from his forehead was so intense that even all the animals would respect him. Wild animals would respect him. They would be calm next to him. Same thing goes with humans. When a human loses his divine light, as we gave the example of Cain after he killed Abel, Cain had to ask the Almighty to give him a letter assigned on his forehead, a divine letter, so that the animals wouldn't kill him. How did he know the animals would kill him? Because Cain knew by committing murder, he lost his divine light. So what happened? Richard, by taking money, he lost his divine light. Janet did not know what was happening, but she understood that she was, all her nerves were coming out. Why was she so nervous? Because her soul was protesting. This is not the guy I married. This is not the guy I stood under the chuppah. She couldn't stand it. So what was happening? Hashem was talking to Richard by way of Janet. If Richard would have had spiritual awareness, he would have taken a walk. Okay, excuse me, Janet, I gotta go take a walk in the park. He says, Hashem, what's happening to me? Why is Janet so upset? Okay, what's that? The rabbi finally discovered what's happening, and the rabbi suggested that Richard sell his part and then told the partner, get a new mechanic and get out of there. So Richard sold his half of the garage, and he went back to his old job, and Janet was still irritable. So Richard went back to the rabbi and says, hey, Rabbi, you didn't deliver the goods. I did everything you told me to, and I left it there, and I'm back to a worker's salary and not an owner's salary. But Janet is still upset. So the rabbi said, you got dishonest cash in the bank. So He asked him, how much did your partner pad the bills by? And he said, usually about 25%. So he figured his smiling is part of the sale price and took out part of that price. He says, well, give it. It came out to a number, a couple $1,000s. He said, give it to charity for poor people and let it be an atonement for your soul, and take Hashem, that promise Hashem that you'll do your best never to touch another dime that doesn't cost you. So he did that, and he made tshuva. He came home. His wife did a 180. All of a sudden, she looked at him. This was the guy she married. She loved him. She says, Richard, I'm so sorry. I've been a witch in recent months. And he said, that's okay. It's because I wasn't exactly a tzaddik myself. But this is a matter, as soon as he went to a spiritual guide, Richard did, and a spiritual guide opened his eyes a little bit and how to do self-assessment and how to correct. And once he corrected, everything was hunky-dory with his wife. So what happens? People who don't have a spiritual awareness, the husband and wife, they're fighting. Okay, when the wife has a reason to be upset with the husband, or a husband has a reason to be upset with the wife, because if the wife is doing something that she not be doing according to Allah, according to Torah, then the husband's going to be upset with her, and then marriage out the door. So rather than correcting, if he doesn't do tshuva or she doesn't do tshuva, and he doesn't assess himself or she doesn't assess herself, and they don't listen to Hashem talking, Hashem is talking to them by way of one another. Not only a husband and wife could be a parent and a child. Had a classic situation when I was in one of my trips to Miami, and a person came up to me. The person said, Rabbi, I got a problem. I said, what's your problem? He says, I've got a 16-year-old daughter, and she's a Beis Yaakov girl, and she's such a good girl. All of a sudden, I came home yesterday, and she opened up a mouth to me, and she was so chutzpahdik, she was so cheeky, really insolent. And I said, what'd you do? He says, well, I didn't answer. I said, okay, I let her blow off steam and it away. So I told him I was really glad that he didn't make the situation worse. So we also grilled him a little bit, what's happening, this and that, how it acts in shul. Well, it turned out, after a little bit of interrogation, that he took his iPhone to synagogue in the morning, and he was text messaging during Kaddish. We say Kaddish, Gadol v'Kadash Merabah, that we sanctify Hashem's glorious name. So instead of sanctifying Hashem's glorious name, he was text messaging with his buddy. Well, can you imagine if you're with a flesh and blood king, and everybody there is singing the praise of the king, and one guy is just out to lunch, he's ignoring the king. Ooh, it's gonna maybe get the sword on the back of his neck. But to Hashem, so what does Hashem do? This was gross disrespect to Hashem. Hashem made him suffer gross disrespect from daughter. This is not uncharacteristic behavior does. So to wake him up, so he takes stock in himself and realize that he did the same thing to Hashem. Okay, this is what so many things that happen to us for the good and for the otherwise. It's to wake us up, and it's Hashem speaking to us, and it's all for the very best. So rather than complain, stop to think, what's Hashem want me to understand? What's Hashem want me to do? What might have I inadvertently done wrong? Because we certainly know that nobody has the intention of doing wrong. But this is the type of thing, it could go on and endless examples, but giving you food to thought to realize that all the stimuli in our environment, Hashem speaking to us. For example, if a person doesn't speak slander, have a barking dog, go buy the barking dog will bark at you because you don't upset the barking dog. Usually when a barking dog viciously barks at a person, stop and think what you said over the phone, stop and think what you said over social media, and that's a sign, that's also Hashem, because the dog has no free choice. The dog is operating from Hashem. It's Hashem making the dog bark at you. Okay. Now, we're going on to our sixth important point in understanding spiritual awareness. This is really an important point. And what we're going to learn now, it's amazing, but many people go through life without ever learning this point, right? This is the fact that each of us have a unique mission in life. Once we learn this point, internalize this point, we don't waste time anymore. We become much more efficient. we attain much more of our potential. Okay, now just imagine you got an American soldier in the middle of Afghanistan, but now he doesn't know he's maybe got hit on the head and he's got a little bit of amnesia and he doesn't know what side he's fighting for. He doesn't know anymore if he's an American or an Afghan. He doesn't know is he a U.S. Marine or a Taliban. And you ask the soldier, hey, what are you doing here? He shrugs his shoulders and says, I don't know. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? A guy in the mountains outside of Kabul, and he doesn't know if he's an American or an Afghan or a U.S. Marine or a Taliban. Okay, it sounds really crazy, doesn't it? Without spiritual awareness, that is exactly what a person looks like. They look in Shemaim, person is in the middle of the battlefield, which is this world the battlefield. It's not a Disney amusement park, it's a battlefield. And our whole 120 years on this earth are a battle. And people are looking for leisure and pleasure. No, didn't sign up, not in this unit. You signed up to serve Hashem and to complete your soul. It's a battle because we're fighting the evil inclination for 120 years. And this is what Rabbeinu Yonah, not Rabbeinu Yonah, the medieval Rabbeinu Yonah, but Rabbeinu Yonah in the Yerushalmi Talmud 2,300 years ago told Alexander the Great. When Alexander the Great arrived in the land of Israel, he says, Your Majesty, you've now finished the small battles. Now you're about to do the big battle. So he couldn't understand. Alexander says, conquering all of Europe and all of Greece and Turkey and the Mesopotamia, this is a small battle in your eyes? He says, Your Majesty, your evil inclination, the evil inclination of Alexander the Great is a greater battle for you than conquering all these nations. And that's what it was. Okay, but there, another example of a person who achieved Alexander the Great, people don't realize he died before his 30th birthday. He was only 29, look what he accomplished. And he had great respect. He had great respect for the sages. He was benevolent to the sages. This is the time before the Mishnah, men of the Great Assembly. And that's why so many Jewish children are called Alexander, because Alexander this is where the name comes from. It comes from Alexander the Great, because he was very benevolent to the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Okay, but a person says like this, don't know what his mission is. Now ask yourself, if you don't know what your mission is, a basic question. I have a divine soul within me that's a tiny spark of Hashem, and Hashem is spiritual and eternal. So why would Hashem take me from this lofty spiritual realm up in heaven and bring me down here to this lowly physical world, which is the pits? That's the good news. The good news, there's no place lower in the physical world, what we call purgatory or Gehenna. That is at a higher spiritual level than this world, because the physical world, few people know that there's a Hashem in the world. And purgatory, everybody knows that there's a Hashem. All right, so this is, so what's the answer? The answer is important to do our mission in life. The first reason is that Hashem created the world to bestow his loving kindness on man. Now, Hashem wants us with our divine souls to imitate him and emulate him. So Hashem gives us the opportunity to do good and benevolent deeds. Hashem wants to do good deeds. And each of us has our individual mission to accomplish on earth. Someone may be a special needs teacher. Someone may be a nurse in a hospital. Someone may be a doctor. Someone may be a policeman protecting other people. Some be a teacher. But each one of us in our own individual mission has the ability to do good, and with the particular aptitudes and accomplishments that Hashem has instilled in each one of us. Now, once a person pursues his or her mission of good, of doing good, he or she is ultimately rewarded with a higher, more sublime status of eternal bliss in the world to come. I'll give you an example. A New York investor had a chance to buy a tobacco company in North Carolina at a really cheap price, and he would have made a lot of money. And he said, Rabbi, I want a blessing to buy this tobacco company. And he says, if everything succeeds as I want, you will get a very big contribution to your efforts in spreading Emunah, this, that. You'll be able to do whatever you want. And I said, I'm sorry, sir. I would love to give you a blessing for success, but not in a tobacco company. By you making money, so many people are going to get sick, and so many people are going to get emphysema and lung cancer. And that the Torah says that there's no such thing as performing a mitzvah by doing a transgression. I mentioned earlier that there's a mitzvah in the Torah, v'nishmaltem nafshotechem. You have to take good care of your souls. And your soul, the body that houses the soul. You can't do that if you're smoking. They told the guy, no way. He was really indignant. Oh, Rabbi, you did this. I said, well, listen, I can't stop you from buying the tobacco company, but you're not getting a blessing from me. No, you can make me look for, some more commercial-oriented rabbi than I am, and they give you a blessing. But can't do that. Can't do that. And this cannot possibly be, what I explained to the person, this can't possibly be your mission on earth. Okay, to do philanthropy, even if you do philanthropy from your tobacco company, you're killing people in order to give to yeshivas or orphanages or whatnot. That's Robin Hood. Robin Hood is not in keeping with halacha. We don't rob from the rich to give to the poor. And we don't make smokers sick, give them the opportunity. So they want to smoke, not in my school, not in my neighborhood. Go, you find somewhere else. Go to another country, go to another company, go somewhere else. I'm not going to give you a cigarette. Person, even if I would have matches in the pocket, I'm not going to do loving kindness by letting a person light a cigarette. No, if you want to light a Shabbos candle, if you want to light a yahrzeit candle at shul, fine. Okay, but not that. We don't do, we do good. We have to do, if we're doing something that's not good, if we're doing something that's shady business, if we're doing something that's causing pain to another person, then it's not our mission. It cannot be our mission. It cannot possibly be that Hashem gives us a mission on earth by doing pain to someone else, unless a person chooses to do evil. And if a person chooses to do evil, the Gemara and Tractate Yuma says, Megalgalim chov bidei chayav, that Hashem lets a person, an evil person, do evil deeds. So let's suppose Mo deserves to be punished, and Manny is an evil guy. Okay, so Hashem will let Manny steal $100 from Mo. Now, Manny is going to be published for stealing $100 from Mo, but it's been ordained that Mo get $100 stolen for him. Now, it could do it on all types of ways. Mo could get, heaven forbid, he could beat up in the street and mugged and lose his $100, or else he could get ripped off in business for $100 and not lose his health. There's all different ways Hashem could do it. But if a person chooses to do bad, Hashem is going to enable him to be an agent of bad. That's why all of us, we have to pray in our mission life, to pray a lot. I do every single day. Hashem, help me be the agent of only bringing pleasure and good to the world and gratification to other people. That heaven forbid, I should not bring anguish or pain to any other creation. Heaven forbid, only good, only good. And so we know this is part of getting to know Hashem. By getting to know Hashem, because we know Hashem is so loving and compassionate, Hashem wants us to be like that. And the Torah gives a commandment, and it says that Hashem wants us to emulate him and walk in his ways. Okay, so you can't accomplish two tasks at once. You can't be good and evil at the same time. So the suffering that goes on in the world, the people that choose to do dark side, that they take the wrong choice. They take the choice of the evil, the dark side, and doing good and getting to know Hashem. It's a hostile atmosphere and political correctness and modern society for the two difficult tasks. But the rewards are tremendous. People say, why is it so hard to do good? Why is it so hard to get to Hashem? People, so many places, the G word, don't use the G word. Don't use the G word. Don't say God. Why is it so difficult? People ask. Because right now the Olympics is going on. I think it's in Japan, Tokyo Olympics. People get medals for gymnastics, not by doing a little somersault that a baby could do in his crib. They do difficult exercise. That's how you get the medal. And this is how we get the reward, by doing difficult things. Yes, it's not easy to be a good person in this world. Yes, it's not easy to be a believing person and a Muda person in this world. because the whole world and modern, it's not cool to believe in God. Not cool. Yeah. Okay. So all the people, I guarantee you, and I challenge anyone to show me a happy atheist with inner peace. Challenge. Okay, show me one day. This is, you won't be able to find it, because if a person denies God, a person is denying his soul. It's like a person has a Mitsubishi, got a car, and the car's got a problem with the carburetor, and he takes it to Mitsubishi mechanic, and he says, "No, I don't believe in Mitsubishis." "But you're a Mitsubishi mechanic. You've got a car, and I don't believe in carburetors." Well, come on. And there's the same person walking around with the divine soul, but he doesn't believe in the Almighty. He's denying his own soul. What's he say? Well, it's the psyche, and it's this and that, all these different words. But why? Because if he thinks of Hashem, and he thinks of Hashem's laws, he thinks of the 10 Commandments. Oh, the 10 Commandments limits him. And the 10 Commandments, he can't steal in business anymore. And the 10 Commandments, he can't covet something that belongs to someone else. And in 10 Commandments, he can't lie. And 10 Commandments, he can't steal. And 10 Commandments, he can't touch another person's spouse. Oh, they don't want to be limited. So rather than not wanting to be limited, they deny Hashem. They say they deny Hashem. But by denying Hashem, the person denies his own soul, and they are miserable. They are miserable. Look at all the people that are rich and famous, and other people are jealous of them. They think they have everything, and they're ego-oriented. An ego-oriented person is far away from Hashem. Because in order to get close to Hashem, we have to put our egos aside. So a person can do good in any career context. Once we understand that part of our mission, our spiritual mission, with the tools we have, is doing good, then we get much closer to our mission. I do a whole book about this. It's called The Path to Your Peak. I'm going to do finding a mission, because we're not talking about that. This would take me about 5 or 6 lessons, 5 or 6 Amuna hours to go Path to Your Peace. Maybe we'll do that when we finish Trail of Tranquility. But this is the key to finding a mission in life. Am I, in what I'm doing with my life, am I causing pain to someone? Am I transgressing the Torah in some way? Heaven forbid, am I forced to misrepresent something, forced to depart from the truth, forced to depart from doing good? If any of these questions are answered in the affirmative, that a person is answerless, and am I not doing good, then you've got to find something else to do, because it's not your mission in life. Okay, so that's the first question. What is spiritual awareness? We just answered 6 parts. We're going to continue on. And in question 2, why does a person need spiritual awareness? Rabbi Nachman gives a one-line answer. Anger stems from lack of spiritual awareness. Explains how the more we attain spiritual awareness, the more we neutralize anger. And that is the whole path that old Isaac takes us up our trail of tranquility. And that's a trail of spiritual awareness, because life is like climbing a mountain, and we start at the bottom, and there's a lot of negative emotions and pitfalls on the way that they hinder our progress. They get in the way. But the various trails up the mountain, all kinds of trails, they represent life's options. And a person has to choose options a whole life. Every single day we're making choices, because life is a dynamic set of choices between good and evil. So if we live in a world without spiritual awareness, it's like we're walking up the trail at night without a flashlight, or riding a trail bike, little trail motorcycle, and it doesn't have a headlight. Person can get cracked up. And imagine what a waste it would be if the hiker who's hurting himself and tripping and falling on rocks and getting scratched with thorns, if he'd only look in his backpack and saw he had a flashlight, he could go safely up the path and up the mountain. That's the same thing. We don't look at our backpack. We know that we've got spiritual awareness. Hashem gives us a tool, but we have to cultivate that tool. And that's what we learned last week and learned this week. So the material world, it's analogous to a forest. And same thing, we can't get through the world without this flashlight of spiritual awareness to show us the way. So the more a person lacks spiritual awareness, it's like lacking that flashlight, then the more a person gets into trouble, and the more a person suffers in the world. Because again, life that's devoid of spiritual awareness is like the example of that tourist that can't read the map, that can't understand the road signs, it doesn't have language. It's a lost soul in every sense of the word. So it's truly frightening to think about someone that's trying to get through life without spiritual awareness. Now you can understand. Think about tonight's lesson. Think about why so many millions of people in modern society are on medications, emotional medications, psychiatric medications. The good point of it is here. If they would only have spiritual awareness, they'd save themselves so much emotional wear and tear. But if they don't want the God word, okay, you don't want the God word, then take the pills to get home. But the pills don't accomplish your mission in life. They make you feel temporarily better. Just like a person grabs a gin and tonic, makes him feel temporarily better. Okay, so when an airplane is flying through thick clouds, it feels this constant turbulence. And flying is in thick clouds is difficult, it's dangerous. A person is totally dependent on avionics, can't see what's going on. And the passengers, they're suffering, they're getting belted through, even though they're buckled in, they're getting knocked around. But once the airplane rises above the turbulence and into the clear blue sky, everything is smooth. This is what happens to a person's life. When a person illuminates his own soul, it's like rising above the clouds and getting into the area of the clear blue sky of spiritual awareness and getting Hashem's light, which is compared to the sunlight, because spiritual awareness takes us above the cloudy turbulence of this world. So imagine something else. Let's give another example about spiritual awareness. Person's walking down the street in the Bronx. All of a sudden, it goes past the doorway of the gym. Some bouncer's hand grabs him and pulls him inside the gym, and they put him in the ring and they start smashing him. So what do I do? What am I getting beat up for? What do I do wrong to anybody? Boom, gets it again. Boom, gets it again. Okay, let's take him aside. Now let's put a person on the U.S. Olympic team in the same ring, and the coach gives him the same shot. He gets a shot across the head, and he thanks the coach. He's happy about it because he knows that he dropped his guard in practice. And if he goes to the Olympics, he drops his guard, then the Russian is not going to have pity on him. Will knock him out. So the boxer knows he's there to practice. He's there to get better. So he appreciates getting hit because it's better to get hit in practice than it is in the ring in the Olympic finals. Okay, but a person that doesn't know what's in the ring, doesn't know why he's getting hit, that's the difference between someone on the Olympic boxing team that knows what he's doing. And sure, it gets hit a lot of times on the way, but he's got an awareness. He's got an awareness of what's going on. The person that gets hit and doesn't have an awareness, this is exactly what spiritual awareness is synonymous to. So an identical punch in the face to the person that doesn't know what's going on causes anger and pain. And the other person, okay, the person on the boxing team, yeah, he'll have a sore nose for a while, but he'll get over it. So like the boxer in training, once we attain spiritual awareness, we regard our difficulties in life as valuable opportunities for personal growth, and our pain becomes gain, and our anger just evaporates like dewdrops in the morning sun. But Hashem, we're going to hold up till now. Next week, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue our lesson in spiritual awareness, have one more lesson in spiritual awareness before we could go higher. And this will really help us along in life. And these lessons are tied to give us a lot of happiness and success and inner peace. And Hashem should give you a blessing in everything you do and a wonderful new week. Amen.